Nissan had invested massively into racing during the Group C/GTP era of the 80s and early 90s. They did this with something called money, a resource modern Nissan appears to have limited knowledge and understanding of. They scored iffy results in Europe, generational success in North America, and were left with some of the era's coolest cars to show for it. But after the collapse of Group C, Nissan's next crack at international endurance competition would be with a much more pedestrian race-modified Skyline. The Skyline had a strong racing career already in Group A touring car racing, but for European GT1 events, it was immediately clear that they would need something a bit more punchy. Unlike Mercedes and Porsche, who built a small number of customer cars in the form of the CLK GTR and the 911 GT1 Strassen version, Nissan didn't see the point in doing more than the absolute bare minimum, and so they only built one of them. It used the same 3.5-litre twin-turbocharged V8 as its racing counterparts, though its power output was cut back to just 550 brake horsepower, although this is sometimes quoted as 350. It was claimed that the road version could achieve a top speed of 220 miles an hour, however Nissan chose never to test this. The car would debut at Le Mans in 1997, and they ran into problems before the car had even seen the track yet. All cars that race at Le Mans must be inspected by the ACO prior to the event. All three of the R390s failed this scrutineering due to what Nissan called a, quote, misunderstanding about the regulations. This resulted in last-minute modifications to the cars to make sure they would be able to compete. Despite a strong qualifying performance, the R390 was doomed to fail. The modifications done to the rear of the car to bring it in line with the regulations meant that all three cars were plagued with cooling difficulties. The issue, which primarily affected the gearbox, forced two of the three cars to retire from the race, and the last car standing, unsurprisingly, also suffered transmission issues, but soldiered on to finish the race in 12th place. For 1998, the cars were modified to increase downforce. This was done by lengthening the bodywork at the rear, installing a brand new rear diffuser, and changing the position of the rear wing in order to try and reduce drag on the straights. Nissan chose to race 4 of these new modified R390s in 1998, hopeful that they'd have a better time of it than they had done the previous year. This time they all passed the ACO checklist too. It turns out that reading the rules can be competitively advantageous. Who knew? The R390s were easily beaten by their rivals Mercedes and Porsche during qualifying, but put on a good show nonetheless. On race day, all 4 of them managed to finish, coming 3rd, 5th, 6th and 10th overall, beaten by the monstrous Porsche 911 GT1. But a podium finish in the world's toughest circuit race is no small feat, and to have achieved it ahead of McLarens, Toyotas and Ferraris surely meant that Nissan weren't barking up completely the wrong tree. But after 1998, the R390 was abandoned.